An EU deal that, as we sit here, I still think is increasingly likely. Likely to be, of course, over 600 pages in length that none of us have seen. And just with a fortnight to go until the end of the transition period when that deal would come into effect, the fact is that this thing, if it does come back, is going to be rammed through Parliament in very quick time. Something I think deserves far greater scrutiny than it is getting at the moment. I'm going to bring you all the very latest, guys, including a big hint today in terms of what this deal could look like, a development some of you I don't think are going to welcome. I'm going to bring you all the very latest, guys, but please start off by hitting the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss future reports. Now, the Prime Minister's spokesman today reiterating, we will not extend Brexit negotiation with EU into next year. No deal Brexit still most likely outcome. But the fact remains, the UK hasn't walked away. Deadlines have come and gone. And the last few days, we're hearing that the mood music is more positive. One man in the know is the Times' Bruno Waterfield, who has said we could see white smoke on Saturday evening, but Sunday seems on the cards. Now, in terms of the logistics of Parliament, as the Mail report, hopes raised for last-minute Brexit deal as MPs are warned they may have to work on Christmas Eve, and Jacob Rees-Mogg insists there is no last moment for an agreement. And indeed, Jacob Rees-Mogg confirming today that the House will rise, but if a Brexit deal is secured, the government will request a recall of Parliament. One journalist, again, who's very plugged in is Christopher Hope of The Telegraph, and this is what he said yesterday. Worth taking note of. Reasons why a Brexit trade deal might be imminent, and they are not telling us. Boris Johnson met, Christopher Hope writes, the 1922 committee remotely tonight, this is obviously yesterday, rather than turning up in person. Christopher Hope speculating that Boris may be looking at flying to Brussels at short notice, and that with the Commons rising tomorrow for Christmas break to early Jan, MPs might be more likely to hand over proxy votes to the whips to vote through a deal next week rather than come back to Parliament. He also writes that senior Conservative Brexiteer MPs, Steve Baker and Sir Bernard Jenkin, dashed past him in the committee corridor in Westminster, making clear they had little time to speak. This is unusual. Something must be done. I am sure of it, he has said. So I think there's a high probability now. Of course, it may not happen, of course. There could be no deal. There could be a clean break. There could be WTO. That's all possible. But what I'm saying is that a deal is looking increasingly likely, and that there is now such little time that the degree of scrutiny that can be put on that deal is going to be severely restricted by the constraints of time we have left. As to what that deal could look like, here's what Nick Guttridge, the journalist, has written today. The two sides have wrapped up negotiations, i.e. the UK and the EU, of course, on public procurement. The UK will give European companies bidding for public sector contracts equal treatment to British ones and vice versa. Michel Barnier briefed MEPs. He called it a very good agreement. Well, Nigel Farage was certainly scathing of this revelation, saying it's another very bad sign for Brexit. Now, just to give you the background to this, Nick Guttridge went on to explain that throughout the talks, the UK had been insisting the public procurement provisions should be based on WTO rules, but it has shifted that stance late in the day. The UK sought generous terms in this area with Japan, and in doing so, in talks with the US, Australia, New Zealand, EU figures estimate public sector spending makes up about 15% of GDP in most developed countries, so this is a really important issue for both sides. European firms have huge financial interests in the UK, from running rail franchises to making the new blue passports. The UK side said it wouldn't comment on the ongoing negotiations, but this is a further sign, Nick Guttridge writes, of how lots of little remaining pieces in the jigsaw are slotting together. Now the talks are in their endgame. If when things move towards a deal, they could do so very quickly. And as the Telegraph reported this morning, Brexit talks could be in their final stages. Priti Patel has signalled saying negotiations have entered the tunnel. Also, it's also been reported, lots going on, that Boris Johnson has cancelled a trip that was due to take place on Friday, fueling speculation that a deal could be near. That's according to The Sun. Now, what we do know in terms of what Prime Minister Boris Johnson said yesterday, he said that on where we get to with the EU, well, again, there is very much a matter for our friends. They know what the parameters are, and we've just got to make sure that we control our own laws and control our own waters. There's a good deal there to be done, he said, but if not WTO Australia terms, it is, and I have to say we'll prosper mightily on those terms. Whilst the government spokesman said, we will recall MPs and peers to legislate for a deal if one is secured. That deal could be as early as next week. Now, I think this, as I say, deserves far greater scrutiny because there's going to be immense time pressure now. Of course, and I'll repeat it again, on a very lengthy document that none of us have seen the details of. And so Conservative MP Andrew Bridgen, one of those speaking out, saying the devil will be in the detail of any deal done with the EU. It must have adequate scrutiny and not be bounced through the Commons. But it does look increasingly like that is exactly what is going to happen. That in fact the deal will be reached so late in the day with the EU that, as I said, the time to scrutinise this properly is going to be minimal. It's going to be severely restricted, and we could see this absolutely rammed through Parliament. In terms of the European Parliament, what they're saying is that they will not be able to ratify a UK-EU treaty before the end of December unless the deal is concluded by Sunday. And of course, some are now speculating that Sunday could be the day this is done. Manfred Weber tweeting, I proposed to the European Parliament leadership this morning that we should only approve a Brexit agreement if we get it until this Sunday. After that, we cannot reasonably scrutinise the deal before the end of the year. The agreement is too important, he said, to rush through Parliament. So that's where we are, guys. The mood music seems to me increasingly likely that there will be a deal. And I just put it to you again, at over 600 pages, maybe who knows how long this thing will be. The level of scrutiny this deserves is now going to be restricted by time, and it's likely to be rammed through Parliament. Let me know what you're making of all of this. Let me know what you make of that revelation from Nick Guttridge in terms of the public procurement agreement. There's been some furious reaction already that I've seen on social media to this, but let me know what you make of it. And of course, guys, if you appreciate what I'm doing here on the channel, please do give this video a big thumbs up. Would really appreciate that. And of course, you can support my work by hitting that join button. See the link in the top pinned comment to become a member here on the channel. Would really appreciate your support. And of course, as ever, thanks so much for watching.